The desert was never silent. People thought it was. That the emptiness meant quiet. But that was only true for travelers who passed through quickly. Those who lived here, who stayed long enough for the land to recognize them, knew the truth. The desert whispered, groaned, remembered, and waited. Caleb Roark had lived alone long enough to hear every one of its sounds. He woke with the sun, rode his boundary fence before noon, chopped wood in the afternoon, and cooked his supper in the fading glow of dusk. The valley he lived in was small. Just a pocket of sagebrush and dry grass tucked between two lonely ridges. His cabin sat near the center, a squat structure built from pine trunks and stubbornness. Most men would have gone mad here. But for Caleb, solitude was a kind of salve. It dulled the ache, made the past feel farther away. And for 2 years, that was all he wanted. Distance, and the quiet that came with it. The rain began late that afternoon. Not a drizzle but a hard, tapping storm that rolled across the ridges like marching boots. Caleb stacked more logs by the fireplace and listened to the roof accept the punishment. Rain was unusual for this time of year. The desert didn't seem prepared for it. The ground hissed each time water touched it. As if surprised. Night fell early, swallowed by thick storm clouds. Lightning forked across the sky, lighting up the lines on Caleb's face. The old rifle leaning near the door, and the wooden table bearing a pot of stew he cooked earlier. He sat beside the fire, whetting his knife, drawing the steel across the blade slowly and rhythmically. The scrape echoed inside the cabin, blending with the storm outside. Then came the knock. It was not gentle, not hesitant, but hard, rapid, desperate. Caleb froze, blade halfway down the sharpening stone. No one visited him. No one even rode through his valley unless they were lost. Another knock. Then another. Urgent. Caleb stood, grabbed his rifle, and moved toward the door. He placed his hand on the latch but didn't open it fully. Just enough to look through the gap. What he saw made him forget the storm, the night, the silence of the desert. 4 girls stood huddled together in the rain. Young. The oldest maybe 20, the youngest barely 14. Apache. Their dark hair was plastered to their faces, clothing soaked, bare feet caked in mud. Their chests rose and fell with sharp, panicked breaths. The storm clung to them like a second skin. The oldest stepped forward. Her voice trembled, not from fear but from exhaustion. "We can pay," she said quietly. "We can offer ourselves. If you let us inside." For a moment, the desert inside Caleb went still. He did not open the door further. He didn't lower his rifle. He didn't speak. Thunder rolled behind them. The girl swallowed and tried again. "We don't want trouble. We only need shelter. Just for tonight. We will repay however you want." Caleb exhaled. Once. A long, tired breath. "Put your hands down," he said. "I'm not that kind of man." He opened the door wide. Warm air spilled out. The smell of stew. Smoke. Safety. "Get inside," he said. "You'll die out there." The girls looked at him as if unsure whether to believe him. Then they stepped in, one by one, dripping water onto the wood floor. Caleb closed the door behind them and bolted it. The storm roared on, but now it was outside, where it belonged. Inside, there was only the fire. And 4 lives that no longer felt like prey. Caleb gave them blankets first. Then warm tin cups filled with water, heated just enough to ease their shivering. He did not ask questions at first. He could see they were barely holding themselves upright. The oldest girl, tall, sharp-eyed, watched him with a wary sort of intelligence. She seemed like the kind who had learned too early not to trust the world. "My name is Ayana," she said at last. "These are my sisters. Nara, Luma, Tane." The youngest, Tane, had a cut across her cheek. Luma, the second youngest, held her ribs as though breathing hurt. Nara stared at the fire, not blinking. Caleb nodded. "Caleb Roark." Ayanna studied him carefully. You live alone? Yes. No wife? No. No neighbors? Not for miles. She nodded slowly, absorbing that information. We were taken, Ayanna whispered. By men who trade people. Dutch Carver and his crew. Caleb stiffened. The knife, the storm, the long years alone. All of it fell away at the sound of that name. Carver. A man who treated human beings as if they were horses to be bought, broken, or sold. A man who worked in shadows where the law rarely reached. Ayanna continued. We escaped yesterday. Ran into the storm. We have walked all night and day. Caleb stepped back, absorbing every word. They will come, she whispered. They always come. Caleb's jaw tightened. He looked toward the window again, watching the storm blur the world outside. He didn't tell them the truth. He didn't have to. Carver would come. Men like him always did. Hours passed. The girls slept curled together near the fire. Caleb sat in his chair, rifle across his knees, eyes fixed on the door. He did not sleep. He could not. Not with Carver out there. Not with the past he carried. He remembered another storm. Another night. A cavalry raid gone wrong. A village burned. People screaming. His commanding officer shouting orders Caleb refused to follow. He walked away from the uniform that night. But the memories followed him out of it. Now, 2 years later, 4 girls rested under his roof because he'd opened a door instead of closing one. For the first time in a long time, Caleb Roark felt like a man again. A man capable of choosing something other than solitude. But sunrise would test that. Because Carver would come with guns and fury. And Caleb would have to choose again. Stand. Or run. And he already knew running was no longer an option. Morning did not come gently. The storm ended sometime before dawn, but the sky stayed bruised and heavy, as if the night had left fingerprints on it. Caleb pushed the cabin door open and stepped outside, boots sinking into wet sand. The entire valley smelled of rain, mud, wet sage, and the faint sweetness of mesquite bark waking up after a long thirst. He breathed deep. Rain always changed a man. It softened men who were too hard, hardened men who were too soft. But mostly, it revealed tracks. And there were plenty of those. Boot tracks. Horse tracks. A dozen. Maybe more. Not from the 4 girls. These were fresh, shallow, and organized. A search party. Caleb crouched, touched the wet earth, and frowned. They had already passed through the valley. Probably during the storm, when thunder hid the sound of hooves. He scanned the ridge. Nothing moved. Nothing breathed. But someone had been here. And someone would come back. He stood slowly, wiping his wet hands on his coat, and walked back to the cabin. Inside, Ayanna stood near the fire, watching him. Her sisters were still asleep, curled like small birds under blankets. Ayanna held a tin cup in both hands, tension rising in her shoulders. They were here, weren't they? She asked. Caleb nodded. Yes. Will they return? Yes. Ayanna looked toward the sleeping girls, jaw tightening. We will leave now. Before they find us again. You won't get far, Caleb said. Not with her injured. Ayanna's eyes softened as she looked at Luma, the sister holding her ribs. Still breathing with pain. Ayanna's voice dropped. I cannot lose them, she whispered. I have lost too much already. Caleb didn't ask what she meant. The desert made people lose things, families, hope, homes, entire pieces of their soul. Whatever Ayanna carried, he could feel its weight from across the room. You don't have to run, Caleb said. I know this land. I know where men can hide. Where men can be trapped. Ayanna blinked. Confusion first. Then suspicion. Why help us? She asked. Caleb didn't answer for a moment. He looked into the fire instead. The flames danced on the logs, casting shadows on the wooden walls. I spent a long time doing nothing when I should have done something. He said. I'm not making that mistake again. Ayana watched him closely. The way a hawk watches a field for movement. Slow. Calculating. Measuring whether a man's words carried truth or cowardice. After a long silence, she nodded once. We trust you, she said quietly. But trust is fragile. We do not give it twice. Caleb accepted that. Some things in life were given once. Only once. Later that morning. The sky lightened. Clouds thinned. A pale sun pushed through, faint and watery. Caleb stepped outside again, this time without his rifle. He scanned the valley the way a man reads a book he's memorized. Everything looked the same. The bent fence post, the half-dead cottonwood, the creek swollen from rain. But one thing did not belong. A crow perched on a high rock. Watching him. Unmoving. Crows never stayed too long in one spot unless someone trained them. Carver had a reputation for using small signals. Silent markers. This crow meant one thing. Carver was close. Caleb returned to the cabin with urgency in his steps. Pack what you need, he told the girls. They'll be here by noon. Ayana straightened, pulling her blanket tighter around her shoulders. Where will we go? Not far, Caleb said. A place I know. A canyon cut by wind. Narrow, with only one entrance. I can block it. Ayana nodded. What do you need from us? Strength, Caleb said. And silence. They understood. Preparing for the confrontation. The cabin became a flurry of quiet movement. Ayana helped the younger girls dress in dry clothes, Caleb's extra shirts tied with rope. Coats far too big, but warm. Nara braided Tane's hair to keep it out of her eyes. Luma tried to stand, winced in pain, and Ayana quickly supported her. Caleb packed the essentials. Water skins, bread, jerky, ammunition, a rope coil, a small hatchet, and a wrapped cloth containing his father's old revolver. Then he lifted a loose board beneath the cabin floor and removed a box wrapped in oilcloth. Ayana watched silently. What is that? Insurance, Caleb said. When he unwrapped it, Ayana saw 2 sticks of dynamite. Old, but still usable. Luma's breath caught. Ayana exhaled slowly. You plan to collapse the canyon entrance, Ayana said. If needed, Caleb replied. Ayana met his gaze. You would bury yourself with your enemy? Caleb's face did not change, but something in his eyes flickered. Pain, memory, or maybe both. If that's what it takes, he said. Ayana looked at him a long time. Then nodded. You are not like other white men, she murmured. Caleb didn't answer. He didn't feel like a man worth admiring. But he would play the role if it meant saving them. The ride. Caleb saddled his horse, Barlow, a sturdy, old gelding with a scar across its flank. He helped Ayana lift Luma onto the horse's back. The others followed on foot. The rain had left puddles large enough to reflect the sky, and every step splashed softly. The air hung heavy with moisture and something else. The faint sense that they were being watched. That crow, Nara whispered. It followed us. Carver's eyes, Caleb said. Don't look at it. Keep moving. They walked toward the canyon, a narrow cut in the land where the earth folded into itself. It was a place Caleb used to hide from storms, from soldiers, and from his own thoughts. Now it would serve a different purpose. As they approached, Caleb paused. He glanced back over the valley. The cabin stood small and lonely. A single dark shape against a brightening sky. He wondered if he'd ever see it again. Ayana stepped beside him. You are thinking of the past, she said. How do you know? Because men do not look back unless something behind them hurts, she replied softly. Caleb swallowed. She wasn't wrong. Inside the canyon, the walls rose on both sides, red stone streaked with black from old fires and winter rains. Wind whistled along the narrow corridor, carrying sand and the faint echo of distant thunder. It will protect us? Tane asked. Caleb nodded. As long as we're quiet. They moved deeper until the canyon curved into a wider hollow. A natural shelter, hidden from sight. Caleb signaled for them to sit against the rock wall. "We wait here," he said. Ayanna frowned. "And Carver?" "He'll follow our tracks," Caleb said. "And when he does, I'll lead him away from you." Ayanna's eyes widened. "No. You will not fight alone." Caleb shook his head. "Your sisters are injured. You stay." Ayanna took a step forward. Her voice dropped to a whisper sharp as flint. "You are brave, Caleb Roark. But you are not immortal." Caleb looked away. "I don't need to be. Just stubborn enough." In the silence, time passed slowly. The canyon held sound differently. Every breath seemed louder, every heartbeat sharper. The girls whispered memories to distract themselves from fear. Nara remembered a song their mother used to hum. Tane described the dream she had of a river made of stars. Luma spoke about a field of tall grass where they once hid from summer storms. Ayanna remained quiet, watching the canyon entrance. Finally she spoke. "Caleb, what drove you here?" Caleb didn't answer immediately. Instead, he reached up and touched the scar near his chin. "I used to wear a uniform," he said. "Thought I was doing good. Thought I understood right and wrong." He paused. "There was a village. A wrong order. A night I didn't stop them. A night I looked away." Ayanna didn't speak. She just listened. "I walked away from the army," Caleb continued. "But walking away doesn't erase what you carry." Ayanna nodded slowly. "Guilt is a heavy horse," she said. "It follows even when you don't want it." Caleb almost smiled. "Yeah," he said. "You could say that." Footsteps. Suddenly, the canyon grew still. The wind stopped. Even the echo seemed to hold its breath. Ayanna's eyes snapped toward the entrance. "Someone's coming." Caleb stood slowly. His hand went to his revolver. Then he heard it. Distant voices. Boots crunching gravel. Saddle leather creaking. Men talking, unhurried, confident. Carver's men. Caleb turned to the sisters. "Stay." Ayanna grabbed his arm. "Caleb. Stay," he repeated. Ayanna released him, but her jaw clenched in defiance. Caleb moved to the canyon entrance, stepping carefully, keeping to the shadows. He crouched behind a large rock and peeked out. Carver had returned with 6 men. All armed. All angry. Carver dismounted and kicked dirt off his boots. "They're close," he growled. "Tracks lead right inside." One of his men pointed at the canyon. "They're cornered." Carver smiled. "No. They're caught." He motioned 2 men forward. "Check inside." Caleb's jaw tightened. He had only moments. He stepped out from behind the rock and fired. The first man fell. The second stumbled back, yelling. Carver ducked behind his horse. "It's Roark," someone shouted. Gunfire erupted. Echoes bounced across the canyon walls, turning every shot into thunder. Caleb retreated behind a boulder, firing carefully, counting each bullet. 6 men. 6 guns. He couldn't take them all head on. But he didn't need to. He only needed to buy time. Ayanna's decision. Back in the hollow, Ayanna heard the gunfire. Her chest tightened. Nara covered Tane's ears. Luma struggled to stand, leaning heavily against the rock wall. Ayanna clenched her fists. "I'm not letting him die," she whispered. She reached under the blanket, pulling out the knife she had taken from Caleb's cabin the night before. Nara's eyes widened. "Ayanna, no. I will not watch another good man fall," Ayanna said. "Not when I can help him." She stepped toward the canyon entrance. And froze. Because a shadow moved behind the rock. One of Carver's men had slipped past Caleb, creeping toward them. He raised his gun. Ayanna didn't think. She moved like lightning. The knife flashed. The man dropped without even crying out. Ayanna stood over him, chest heaving, knife dripping. She whispered, "I choose who I am." Caleb under fire. Meanwhile, Caleb ducked behind the canyon wall as bullets shattered rock around him. Carver shouted orders, pushing his men closer. Caleb fired again, hitting one in the leg. The man fell screaming. Carver cursed. "You're outnumbered, Roark," he yelled. "Throw down the gun and I'll make it quick." Caleb wiped sweat and dust from his brow. "You first," he shouted back. Carver snarled. "Fine. Burn him out." One of the men pulled a torch from his saddlebag. Carver nodded. "Light it." Flames burst to life. Caleb's eyes widened. If they smoked him out, he'd have nowhere to hide. Then, a shadow moved behind Carver. Ayanna. Silent. Steady. Knife ready. Caleb saw her. Carver didn't. Ayanna stepped behind the nearest man, slit his hamstring, and dragged him down. Another turn. Shocked. She stabbed him in the ribs before he could shout. Carver spun around. "What the?" Caleb took his chance. He rushed forward. He slammed into Carver. They fell into the dirt, fists flying. Carver grabbed Caleb by the shirt and punched him across the face. "You're a dead man," roared. Caleb spit blood and hit back harder. "So are you." The two men grappled, rolling through mud and sand. Ayanna ran toward them. But Caleb raised a hand, blocking her. "Don't," he gasped. "This is mine." Carver swung again, eyes burning with fury. "You think you're a hero? You're nothing. Just another coward who ran from the uniform." Caleb's face darkened. "And you're just another monster hiding behind it." With a final push, Caleb knocked Carver's gun away, pinned him, and slammed the butt of his revolver into Carver's jaw. Carver fell limp. The canyon grew quiet. Caleb stood slowly, chest heaving, covered in dust, blood, and storm water. Ayanna walked toward him. "You're hurt," she said softly. Caleb shook his head. "I've been hurt worse." Ayanna wiped blood from his cheek with her thumb. "You fight like a man who has nothing left to lose," she whispered. Caleb looked down at her hand. "Maybe I don't." Ayanna held his gaze. "Then we give you something to live for." Caleb blinked. He didn't know what to say. Ayanna stepped back. "We must leave now. More of his men will come." Caleb nodded. "Yes. And we'll be ready." The fight left a ringing stillness in the canyon. The kind that comes after thunder, or after a man realizes he is still alive. Caleb Roark stood with his boots planted in the wet sand, chest rising and falling like a bellows. Carver lay unconscious at his feet, breath shallow, face twisted with shock rather than pain. Ayanna wiped her knife clean on the dead man's coat. Her hands trembled, though her eyes did not. She had grown up in a world where violence was as common as wind. But killing was still a weight. Even necessary killing. Even justified killing. The canyon walls held the echo of everything that had just happened. Dust drifted gently from the rocks. The storm clouds had broken, leaving slivers of pale blue sky overhead. Even the air smelled different. Less like danger, more like the cold aftermath of survival. Caleb touched his cheek where Carver had hit him. It throbbed. He tasted blood. He spat into the dirt. Ayanna stepped closer. "You should rest," she said. Caleb shook his head. "Can't. Not yet." Ayanna looked toward the entrance of the canyon. "More will come. Always," Caleb said quietly. Nara and Tane hurried to Ayanna, relief sweeping across their faces like warm sunlight after a long winter. Luma limped behind them, one hand still pressed at her ribs. Her face was pale but determined. Tane ran into Ayanna's arms. "You came back," she whispered. Ayanna held her close. "I will always come back." Nara turned to Caleb, bowing her head slightly. "You saved us again." Caleb shook his head. "No," he said gently. "You helped yourselves. You did what you had to do." Ayanna crossed her arms. "And you? What did you do?" Caleb shrugged. "Same thing." Luma stepped closer, studying him with careful eyes. "You fight like someone who does not care if he dies." Caleb didn't respond. He didn't need to. The answer hung between them. Ayanna laid a hand on his forearm. Death follows men who invite it. Caleb Roark. Caleb looked down at her hand. I don't invite it, he said softly. It just knows where I live. Ayanna didn't smile. But her eyes softened. You are not alone anymore. Caleb knelt beside Carver's unconscious body. He checked for weapons, taking a long knife and a second pistol from Carver's belt. He bound Carver's hands with rope and tied him to a fallen log. Ayanna watched with steady eyes. You are not going to kill him? She asked. No. Why not? Caleb stood slowly. Because the law needs to see him alive. Ayanna frowned. The law has never protected my people. Caleb nodded. It doesn't protect me either. So why trust it? Caleb exhaled. Because justice is better than revenge. And because killing him won't fix what he did to you. Ayanna looked at Carver, jaw tightening. No, she said. But giving him to the law, that will force the world to see him for what he is. Caleb met her gaze. And what he's not? Ayanna blinked. What do you mean? He's not worth your soul, Caleb said quietly. Ayanna stared at him. A long, searching look. As if weighing his words like stones in her hand. Finally, she nodded. Caleb found a flat rock and sat heavily, letting the pain settle into his muscles. Ayanna sat beside him, close but not touching. The younger girls huddled together across the hollow, whispering quietly. The canyon air grew warmer as the sun pushed higher, drying patches of wet sand. But the wind still carried a chill. The kind that warned men not to relax too soon. Ayanna looked up at the canyon walls. Do you know why Carver took us? She asked without looking at him. Caleb shook his head. I can guess. Ayanna's voice was steady, but her hands tightened around her knees. He said we were worth money. That men in the north would pay for us. He said we were merchandise. Caleb closed his eyes briefly. Ayanna continued. He took others before us. Girls from other tribes. Some younger than Tane. Caleb's jaw tightened like iron. What happened to them? Ayanna drew a shaky breath. Some fought. Some stopped fighting. Caleb opened his eyes. And you? Ayanna's eyes turned sharp. I fought. And I kept my sisters alive. Caleb studied her quietly. You're strong, he said. Ayanna shook her head. I'm tired. Strength is what you show because there is no other choice. Caleb nodded slowly. I know that feeling. Ayanna looked at him. You do? Caleb stared at the canyon entrance, where a dim shape of the sky peeked through the rock. There was a village, he said. South of here. Near the river. Ayanna listened closely. I was supposed to protect the people living there. But my commander ordered us to burn it. Said it was enemy territory. Ayanna's breath caught. And you? Caleb's face darkened. I didn't follow the order. But I didn't stop them either. Ayanna went silent. Caleb rubbed a hand across his eyes. I walked away that night. Left the uniform in the dirt. Thought that would wash the guilt off me. He looked at his hands. Scarred, cracked, stained with more than just dirt. But nothing washes away. Ayanna's voice softened. You left. That means something. Caleb breathed out. Not enough. Ayanna placed a hand on his. For the girls you saved, it is enough. A sudden echo cracked across the canyon. Hoofbeats. Slow. Heavy. Not hurried. Caleb stood instantly. Ayanna rose beside him. Nara, Luma, and Tane shrank against the stone. Caleb moved to the canyon entrance, hiding behind a boulder. Ayanna joined him. Could be a scout, she whispered. Could be more, Caleb replied. They waited. The hoofbeats grew louder, echoing down the stone corridor like rolling thunder. Then a silhouette appeared at the canyon mouth. A single rider. Big. Broad-shouldered. A long rifle in his hand. Caleb raised his revolver. When the rider came closer, he shouted, "Don't shoot." Caleb frowned. That voice. It wasn't Carver. Wasn't one of his men. The rider slowed and lifted his hands. Easy, he called. I ain't here to fight. Caleb stepped from behind the rock. Gun still raised. The rider stopped 10 yards away. He looked older. Maybe 50. Gray in his beard. Eyes sharp and cautious. Name's Marshal Danton Hayes, he said. Territorial office. Caleb narrowed his eyes. A marshal? Out here? Hayes nodded, rain dripping from his hat brim. Been tracking Dutch Carver for months, he said. Heard he came this way. Ayanna stepped beside Caleb. What do you want with him? She asked. Hayes looked at her with a mixture of surprise and respect. I want him alive, Hayes said. He's wanted on charges in 2 territories. Kidnapping. Trafficking. Murder. Ayanna glanced at Caleb. Caleb lowered his revolver slightly. Just slightly. Hayes continued. He's a dangerous man. And if he's near, none of you are safe. Caleb spoke carefully. You riding alone? Not by choice, Hayes said. My deputies split in the storm. I lost 2 horses in the flood. Caleb raised an eyebrow. You're saying you're alone? Hayes nodded. Ayanna's eyes flashed. That means more of Carver's men than yours are coming. Hayes exhaled. Ain't that the truth? The marshal dismounted and tied his horse loosely to a rock. Caleb stepped forward. We've already had a run-in with Carver. He's tied up inside. Hayes' eyes widened. You captured him? Ayanna answered. We helped. Hayes blinked, impressed. Well, he said slowly. I'll be damned. Caleb didn't smile. Hayes walked deeper into the canyon hollow, boots squelching in the sand. When he saw Carver tied to the log, he whistled. You sure didn't go easy on him. Ayanna crossed her arms. He did not go easy on us. Hayes nodded grimly. I'll take him off your hands. But we need to move. His men won't stop coming. Not until they're dead or they have him back. Caleb exchanged a look with Ayanna. Then we move north, Caleb said. Toward the ridge. There's a narrow pass we can defend. Hayes shook his head. Too open. Too many angles for ambush. Ayanna stepped closer. Then where? Hayes pointed toward the west. There's an abandoned way station about 5 miles from here. Stone walls. Thick doors. Used to be a stage stop. It's defensible. Caleb hesitated. I know the place, he said. Roof's half gone. Hayes shrugged. Better half a roof than none. Caleb considered. Then nodded. All right. We'll head there. Ayanna placed a hand on his arm again. Caleb? He turned to her. Her eyes were calm but full of unspoken things. Fear, determination, hope, and something deeper. We trust you, she said. Caleb swallowed. I'll get you all out of this, he said softly. Or I'll die trying. Ayanna shook her head. No, she whispered. You will live trying. Caleb stared at her for a moment. Then turned to Hayes. Let's move. The group left the canyon in a tight formation. Hayes tied Carver over his horse like a sack of grain. The sisters walked close together. Caleb led from the front. The valley stretched wide and empty ahead of them. Sunlight finally broke through the clouds, turning the wet earth into a shimmering mirror. Sagebrush glistened. Even the dust sparkled. But beauty could not erase danger. Not out here. Not with Carver's men hunting them. Nara whispered to Ayanna. Are we safe now? Ayanna looked at Caleb's back. The way he walked with purpose, shoulders set, eyes scanning the horizon. For the moment, Ayanna said. But safety is a thing that changes. As they walked, Caleb drifted into his own thoughts. He remembered the night he left the army. The screams, the flames, the stench of burning wood and flesh. He remembered holding a small Apache child in his arms, trying to calm him as chaos swirled around them. The child didn't survive. Caleb had carried that weight through deserts, towns, saloons, and nightmares. But now, These 4 girls breathed. They lived. And he would not fail them. Marshal Hayes rode beside Caleb. "You're not a simple rancher," Hayes said. Caleb didn't look at him. "No." Hayes nodded. "I can tell. You move like a soldier." "Former soldier," Caleb corrected. Hayes studied him. "You left for a reason." Caleb said nothing. Hayes continued. "I've seen that look before. Men who carry ghosts. Men who think they deserve to die." Caleb stopped walking. Hayes stopped his horse. Ayanna and the sisters watched from behind. Caleb turned to Hayes. "What are you getting at?" Hayes met his gaze firmly. "You think protecting these girls is your punishment." Caleb stiffened. Hayes continued. "But it's not. It's your redemption." Caleb swallowed hard. He turned away and continued walking. Hayes let him. Some truths needed time to settle. The sun sank lower as the group approached the abandoned way station, a lonely structure of rock and timber perched beside a dry gulch. Once, it had been a lifeline for stagecoaches crossing the frontier. Now it looked like a wounded animal, half its roof missing. The windows cracked, the main door hanging crooked on its hinges. Hayes dismounted, tying his horse to the skeletal remains of an old hitching post. "This is it," Hayes said. "Not pretty, but it'll hold." Caleb studied the building. One main room. A small loft. 2 side storage sheds, one collapsed. A corral long since taken by weeds. He nodded slowly. "It'll work." Ayanna approached, helping Luma walk carefully over the rocky ground. Her eyes traced the broken walls, the dark entryway, the roof beams jagged against the sky. "It feels haunted," she said. Caleb gave a faint smile. "Places like this always feel haunted until you put a fire in them." Hayes snorted. "Then let's make it haunted and warm." The group entered the station. Dust hung in the air, swirling like spirits disturbed. Broken chairs lay scattered. A long counter stretched across one wall where travelers once paid for meals or rested their hands while telling stories. Caleb walked the perimeter, tapping the walls, testing their strength. The sisters sat near the far corner, wrapped in blankets. Tane clutched Nara's arm as if the shadows themselves might reach for her. Caleb turned to Hayes. "We need barricades." Hayes nodded. "I'll get the lumber from the shed." Caleb added. "And we'll need places to shoot from. Slits in the walls. High ground in the loft." Hayes smirked. "You've done this before." Caleb shrugged. "I've survived before." Ayanna stood behind him. "We will help." Caleb shook his head. "You need rest." Ayanna stepped forward, jaw set like flint. "We're done resting." Something in her voice, strength born of suffering, made Caleb pause. He handed her a wooden crate. Then stacked those against the back door. Ayanna smiled faintly. "Good." Together, they fortified the station. Hayes hammered boards across the windows. Caleb reinforced the door with broken floor planks. Ayanna and Nara stacked crates and barrels to form a shield wall inside. Luma sorted through tools for anything useful, an old hammer, nails, a rusted hatchet. Tane swept the floor clear of debris, her small hands trembling with purpose. As the sun lowered to blood orange, the station slowly transformed from a ruin into a fortress. By dusk, the sky burned crimson, the desert glowing like a dying fire. A cold wind blew across the plains, carrying the distant cry of a hawk. Caleb stood outside the station, staring across the horizon. His boots sank into the dust. In the distance, shadows gathered where the land dipped. He could almost feel the approach of danger, like a weight pressing into his chest. Ayanna joined him, her blanket wrapped around her shoulders. "You feel it too," she said. "Yes." "Fear?" "No," Caleb said quietly. "Certainty." Ayanna looked at him, brow furrowed. "Of what?" "That they're coming." Ayanna inhaled slowly. "Then we stand." Caleb looked down at her. Her face was tired, pale, still bruised. But her eyes held the fire of an entire tribe. "You should be afraid," he murmured. Ayanna shook her head. "I am afraid. But fear does not stop a warrior." Caleb turned back toward the fading sun. "Warrior, huh?" Ayanna smiled. "Perhaps not like you think. But yes." After nightfall, a fire crackled in the stone hearth. It cast long shadows across the walls, making the building feel both alive and ancient. The sisters ate slowly, bread softened with broth, dried deer meat Caleb had carried in his pack. Tane whispered, "Will we die tonight?" Ayanna put an arm around her. "No," she said. "We will not." Nara looked toward Caleb. "You don't know that." Ayanna answered before Caleb could. "I know who stands with us." Nara fell silent. Hayes sipped coffee from a tin mug, his eyes sharp as a hawk's. "Carver's crew rides hard," Hayes said. "They'll be here by moonrise." Caleb sighed. "How many?" Hayes tapped his finger on the mug. "Could be 6, could be 10. Depends how many made it through the storm." Ayanna stared into the fire. "They will come for him," she whispered. Caleb nodded. "Men like that don't leave their boss behind." Hayes added. "And they won't leave witnesses. Neither." The room grew quiet. Tane's eyes watered. Luma looked down, pressing her hand to her ribs. Nara gripped her sister's hand tightly. Caleb stood. "We're not dying here," he said. "We'll hold the station as long as we need to. Hayes, you take the right window. Ayanna, Nara, take the loft. Shoot only when you see a target. Luma, stay low with Tane. Protect each other." Ayanna raised an eyebrow. "And you?" Caleb took a long breath. "I'll greet them." Ayanna stepped forward, placing her hand over his heart. "You greet them and come back alive," she said. Caleb held her gaze. "I'll try." Ayanna whispered, "Try harder." Midnight lay heavy across the land when the sound came. A single hoofbeat. Then another. Slow. Measured. Deliberate. Caleb walked outside with Hayes beside him. The night air bit cold against their skin. The moon hung low, a dull silver disk behind a veil of clouds. A lone rider approached. A torch in one hand. A pistol in the other. Caleb recognized him immediately. Carver's second in command. Vic Maddox. Cruel eyes, scarred cheek, smile like rock. Maddox stopped his horse 20 yards from the station. He let the silence stretch before calling out. "Roark. We know you're in there." Caleb didn't respond. Maddox swung the torch in a lazy arc. "You've got something that belongs to us. Hand him over. And we let you walk away." Hayes muttered under his breath. "Liar." Maddox continued. "Otherwise, we take him back anyway. And we take whatever else we want." Caleb stepped forward into the torchlight. "I'm not handing him over." Maddox grinned. "We figured you'd say that." He dropped the torch onto the ground. The flame flickered, then spread. Behind him, shadows moved. More riders. 6. Maybe 8. Ayanna, from the loft, whispered a single word. "They are here." Gunfire erupted. The first shots cracked through the night like splintering tree trunks. Hayes ducked behind the window, firing back. Ayanna and Nara took positions above, arrows and bullets flying from the loft. Caleb ran to the station door, slamming the heavy beam across it. The sisters screamed as bullets tore through the outer planks, splintering wood. "Stay down," Caleb shouted. Tane crawled under a table, trembling. Luma shielded her, eyes narrowed, breathing ragged. Maddox hollered. "Keep shooting. Break the damn door." Riders circled the station, firing from every angle. Bullets sang through the windows. Glass shattered. Dust clouds erupted where shots struck stone. Caleb returned fire through a narrow slit he'd carved earlier. Each shot made his shoulder throb. Ayanna's arrows flew with deadly accuracy. She moved like a panther, precise and fierce. Hayes shouted. 2 dropped on the left. Caleb gritted his teeth. More coming from the right. Ayanna yelled down. We are running low on arrows. Hayes barked. And I'm running low on bullets. Caleb breathed deep. We hold. No matter what. Maddox shouted outside. You can't hold forever, Roark. Caleb fired again. We only need to hold long enough. For several minutes, the gunfire slowed. Then stopped. The sudden silence felt unnatural. Like the world itself was waiting. Caleb's pulse hammered in his ears. Hayes whispered harshly. That's not good. Ayanna's voice drifted down from the loft. They are planning something. Caleb listened carefully. Then he heard it. Footsteps. Not running. Not approaching. But shifting. Positioning. Maddox shouted. Fire it. Caleb's eyes widened. He threw himself away from the window as a flaming bottle smashed through the wooden frame, exploding into a wave of fire. A second bottle followed. Then a third. The station burst into flames. The walls glowed orange. Smoke curled along the ceiling. Tane screamed. Luma pulled her close, coughing as smoke filled their lungs. Nara yelled from the loft. They want to burn us out. Hayes cursed loudly. Damn it, Roark. We're boxed in. Caleb ran to the fire, beating it with a blanket, desperate to stop it spreading. Ayanna leapt down from the loft, grabbed a bucket, and threw sand on the flames. The fire dimmed, but smoke thickened. Maddox's voice echoed from outside. Come out, Roark. Or burn with the rest. Caleb's jaw clenched. Ayanna coughed, voice hoarse. What do we do? Hayes looked at Caleb. This is your call, Roark. All eyes turned to him. The sisters, Ayanna, Hayes. Caleb inhaled smoke and dust and dread. But beneath it all, he felt something else. A memory of standing by as another fire burned. Not this time. Never again. Hayes, Caleb said, voice steady, take the girls to the back wall. There's a loose section near the left corner. Kick it out. Hayes stared. You mean break through to the gulch? Caleb nodded. Ayanna understood immediately. It will give us cover, she said. Caleb continued. I'll hold the front. They won't expect us to escape from behind. Hayes grabbed his rifle. You buying us time? Caleb nodded. Ayanna grabbed his arm. No, she said. You are not dying here. Caleb looked at her. Really looked at her. And for a moment the burning station disappeared. The fear disappeared. All he saw was a woman who had fought for her sisters. For herself. For life. I'm not dying, he said quietly. I'm choosing. Ayanna's voice broke. Then choose to live. Caleb squeezed her hand once. Go. Hayes herded the sisters toward the back wall. Caleb stepped to the door. The flames painting his face in gold and blood red. He grabbed the dynamite from his pack. Ayanna gasped. No. Caleb looked at her. I'll throw it. Not blow it. Enough to scatter them, not collapse the station. Ayanna's shoulders eased. Just a little. Caleb opened the narrow shooting slit beside the door. Outside, Maddox shouted. Burn him out. Smoke him like rats. Caleb lit the fuse. Ayanna's breath caught. Caleb threw. The explosion tore open the night. Dust. Fire. Screams. Shattered horses. Chaos. Maddox's men scattered, blinded by smoke and debris. Caleb turned. Now. Hayes. At the back, Hayes kicked the wall. The rotted wood gave way, collapsing into the gulch. Ayanna grabbed Tane. Nara supported Luma. They climbed through the opening into the cold night air. Hayes called out. Roark, move. Caleb looked around the burning station. The collapsing beams. The smoke choking the air. The memory of the village he failed to save. He whispered, not again. Then he ran. He dove through the opening just as the roof behind him collapsed with a deafening crash. The station burned, but the people inside it lived. And the night was far from over. The night air outside the station hit Caleb like a hammer, cold, sharp, and alive with the scent of burning wood. Behind him, the way station roared with flames, a collapsing skeleton of timber and smoke. Each crackling beam sounded like an echo of the past he'd been running from for 2 years. But he wasn't running now. Not anymore. Ayana stood waiting in the gulch, one arm wrapped protectively around Tane, the other steadying Luma. Nara hovered beside them, eyes wide with fear and determination. Hayes helped the last girl over the rubble. "Move," he barked. "They'll regroup any second." And they did. A whistle split the night. From beyond the station's burning remains, shadows emerged, riders forming a crooked semicircle, anger burning in their torchlight. Vic Maddox staggered forward, face bloody, eyes wild. "Roark," he screamed. "You think dynamite scares us?" Caleb stood tall, breathing hard, smoke rising behind him like ghostly wings. Maddox wiped blood from his mouth. "You killed 3 of my men," Maddox snarled. "I'll carve your name into the dirt." Caleb didn't raise his gun. Not yet. He looked at Ayana, at the sisters, at Hayes, then back at Maddox. "You brought this on yourself," Caleb said. Maddox spat. "You brought it on them." He lifted his arm and yelled, "Kill them all." Gunfire erupted again, violent, chaotic, echoing through the gulch walls. Caleb dove behind a boulder, pulling Hayes with him. Bullets ricocheted off stone, sparks flying into the dark. "Ayana, get the girls moving," Caleb shouted. Ayana didn't hesitate. "This way," she cried. She guided her sisters deeper into the winding gulch, the narrow stone passage twisting like a serpent under the pale moonlight. Hayes fired back at the riders. "They're flanking," he yelled. "I see them," Caleb replied. Maddox and 2 riders advanced down the gulch on foot, using fallen rocks for cover. Caleb reloaded, firing 2 quick shots. One rider fell, clutching his leg. Maddox ducked behind a boulder and fired back. Caleb felt a bullet graze his arm. It burned like fire. He winced but held his ground. Hayes cursed. "They're pushing us into a dead end." "No," Caleb said. "There's a way out." He pointed toward the west, where the gulch opened into a narrow cliff path. Ayana had already led the sisters that way. "Go," Caleb barked at Hayes. "What about you?" "Go." Hayes hesitated, then nodded and ran after the girls. Caleb turned back toward the riders, firing another shot that shattered a man's rifle stock. Maddox's voice echoed, "Roark, you can't run from this." Caleb steadied his breath. "I'm not running." He fired again, forcing Maddox to duck. Then Caleb sprinted after the group, heart pounding, arms burning, lungfuls of dust tearing at his throat. Ayana reached the cliff path first, helping her sisters climb one by one. The path was barely wide enough for a single person. One wrong step meant a fall into the jagged rocks below. Tane hesitated at the edge. "I'm afraid," she whispered. Ayana cupped her face gently. "So am I. But fear is not the enemy. It reminds us that we want to live." Tane swallowed hard and stepped forward. Caleb arrived just as Nara reached for Ayana's hand. Hayes grabbed Caleb's shoulder. "They'll be on us in seconds." Caleb looked back. Torches were approaching fast, Maddox and the remaining riders, silhouettes framed by the burning station behind them. "Go," Caleb shouted. He braced his back against the rock wall, revolver raised. Ayana turned to him. "Caleb." "Go," he repeated. "I'll hold them off." Ayana hesitated. Just for a moment. Then she leaned forward and pressed her forehead gently against his. It was brief, almost nothing, and yet it carried everything. Gratitude, fear, connection, and the impossible thread between 2 lives scarred by the same world. "Come back to us," she whispered. Caleb nodded. "I will." She joined her sisters on the path. The moment she disappeared around the bend, Maddox and 3 riders appeared on the ridge. Maddox roared, "Kill him." Caleb fired first. The bullet struck the nearest rider in the shoulder, sending him sprawling down the rocks. The second rider returned fire, hitting the cliff wall inches from Caleb's head. Caleb ducked, fired blindly, and rolled to a new position. Maddox advanced with a cold grin. "You're outnumbered, Roark." Caleb reloaded. "Wouldn't be the first time." Maddox laughed, a cruel, broken sound. "You're alone." Caleb shook his head. "No." Behind him, he could hear Hayes shouting instructions to the sisters, helping them across the narrow path. He wasn't alone at all. Maddox fired. Caleb dug, the bullet grazing his thigh. Pain tore through him. He gritted his teeth and fired back, hitting Maddox's gun hand. Maddox screamed, dropping his pistol. "You bastard!" He charged, knife raised. Caleb staggered to his feet, revolver empty. He threw it aside and met Maddox head-on. They crashed into the dirt, rolling dangerously close to the cliff's edge. Maddox slammed Caleb's head into the ground. "You should have given them up," Maddox roared. Caleb blocked a knife strike, grabbing Maddox's wrist with both hands. "They're not yours," Caleb growled. Maddox pushed harder. "They're worth money." Caleb's voice turned cold. "They're worth more than you ever will be." With a surge of strength, Caleb twisted Maddox's wrist. The knife clattered away. Maddox roared in fury and tried to tackle Caleb over the cliff. Caleb dug his boots into the dirt. They teetered, 1 foot from falling, dust swirling around them in a violent cloud. Maddox screamed, "You're dead, Roark." Caleb slammed his forehead into Maddox's nose. Bone cracked. Maddox fell back, stunned. Caleb seized the moment. He grabbed Maddox by the coat collar and threw him backward. Maddox stumbled, arms flailing, and slipped over the cliff's edge. His scream echoed into the gulch. Then nothing. Silence. Caleb collapsed to his knees, chest heaving. Footsteps approached behind him. Ayanna. She knelt beside him, breath shaking. "Caleb, Caleb, can you hear me?" He lifted his head. Her eyes reflected the moonlight, soft and fierce. "You came back," he whispered. Ayanna touched the blood on his cheek, then his shoulder. "You promised to live," she said. "And you kept your word." Caleb gave a weak smile. "Guess I did." Hayes arrived next. "Is he dead?" Caleb nodded. Hayes let out a long breath. "Good. The territory's safer without that filth." Ayanna helped Caleb stand. He winced, leaning on her. "You're injured," she said softly. Caleb answered, "I'm alive. And that is enough," Ayanna replied. They traveled north until dawn. The sky slowly shifted from deep purple to a soft orange glow. The desert returned to life, crickets singing, wind rustling the sagebrush, the first beams of light cutting through the chill. Caleb walked slowly, leaning on Hayes and Ayanna when needed. Every step hurt, but pain felt distant, less sharp than before. Nara looked back often, checking on him. Luma whispered prayers under her breath. Tane held Ayanna's hand tightly. Hayes led the way, scanning the ridges. "We'll reach the marshal's outpost by midday," he said. "That's where Carver will hang." Caleb nodded. Ayanna looked at the rising sun. "And what happens to us?" Hayes shrugged. "That depends. You could stay with the White Elk people, or find your own path." Ayanna said nothing. Her gaze drifted to Caleb. By noon, they reached a small territorial outpost, 2 cabins, a stable, and a fenced yard. Hayes handed Carver's unconscious body to the deputies with a simple order. "Chain him tight. He stands trial at sundown." The deputies dragged Carver away. Caleb watched in silence. Ayanna stepped beside him. "Does this make things right?" she asked. Caleb shook his head. "Not right. But better." Ayanna nodded slowly. "You cannot erase the past. But you can choose what comes after." Caleb met her gaze. "You think I deserve a future?" Ayanna smiled gently. "I think you deserve peace." The time came too soon. Ayanna gathered her sisters, preparing to leave for the northern trails where friendly tribes would offer shelter. She approached Caleb last. You saved us, she said softly. You gave us a choice when the world tried to take it. Caleb swallowed. You saved me too, he admitted. You reminded me I'm still human. Ayanna stepped closer. For a long time, I thought all white men were the same, she whispered. But you are not like them. Caleb lowered his head. I wish I had met you in a different world. Ayanna touched his cheek. In another world, we would not need saving. She leaned in and kissed him. It was soft, warm, a moment carved from the quiet place between storms. When she pulled away, she whispered, Walk in peace, Caleb Roark. He whispered back, Live free, Ayanna. She joined her sisters. They walked north, 4 silhouettes against the desert sun, their figures growing smaller and smaller until the land swallowed them. Caleb watched until he could no longer distinguish their shapes from the horizon. Hayes stood beside him. You did good, Roark. Caleb didn't answer. Hayes added, You got somewhere to go? Caleb looked at the open desert, the ridges, the sky, the long road ahead. Yeah, he said. Forward. He saddled Barlow, tightened the reins, and stepped into the stirrups. As the wind rose behind him, he whispered to no one and everyone. No more running. Then he rode into the desert. Not away from his past, but toward whatever redemption the frontier still held for him.
If tonight's journey brought you peace or helped ease a weight you've been carrying, go on and tap that like button, partner.